You keep smiling like they aren't trying to break you every single day, like you don't see the way they talk when you turn your back, like that fake love doesn't feel like poison crawling under your skin. Wake up. This world isn't for the soft, isn't for the nice. It's built to crush the ones who carry heart in their hands and expect kindness in return. You still think loyalty gets you loyalty back. You still believe showing love makes them love you too. No, it makes you the first target, the first to be used, the first to be left behind when things get tough. That's reality, not some sweet fairy tale your broken mind keeps replaying to cope. See, you've been too soft, too slow to cut people off, too scared to be alone. And guess what? That's why they walk all over you. They smell your fear. They see your hesitation. And in this world, hesitation is blood in the water. And they're all sharks dressed like friends, laughing like family, smiling in your face with a knife behind their back. Isn't that funny? You ever notice how the moment you start taking yourself seriously, people get uncomfortable? The moment you stop answering right away, stop explaining yourself, stop chasing, they get mad. Why? Because you aren't being their little toy anymore. You aren't playing weak. You aren't available on demand. That scares people because now you look like a problem, and problems don't get played with. They get avoided or respected. So here's what you do. You erase the version of you that wanted to be liked. Kill it. Drag it into the mental alley and shoot it without blinking, then bury it under silence. And when they ask what happened to the old you, just smile that twisted smile and say, he got tired of begging for respect he should have had from the start. You want to be taken seriously, then stop giving chances. You want to stop getting disrespected, then stop laughing with the people who do it. Stop letting them come back like nothing happened. Cut them off, cold and ruthless. Not loud, not dramatic. Just vanish like you never existed. Make them question if you ever cared. Make them beg to feel your presence again. You don't fix your name in their mouth by talking. You fix it by disappearing until it echoes in their conscience like a ghost they can't forget. People don't remember what you said. They remember what your absence felt like. You ever notice how they only start respecting you when you start disrespecting yourself a little less? Yeah, that's the trick. The moment you stop being the clown that dances for everyone, the moment you stop answering calls at 3 a.m. for people who wouldn't even check on you if you vanished, that's the moment they look up. That's the moment they realize they can't move you anymore. Not with guilt, not with fake love, not with pity. You become a shadow in the room, untouchable, unreadable, unpredictable, and people, they fear what they can't read. Respect follows fear, never the other way around. Let that burn in your head like a scar. Look at yourself. You think the reason they left was because you weren't enough? No, they left because you were enough. Too much, in fact. Too loyal, too real, too raw for people who only know how to pretend. You bled for those who never gave you a bandage. You prayed for people who cursed you behind your back. You gave time, effort, soul. For what? For them to say you were too intense, too serious? No. You were just too awake in a world that worshipped sleepwalkers. You weren't the problem. They were. But you couldn't see it because you were too busy trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Want to hear something real? Real people are always alone at first. You walk through fire while the rest watch from behind the fence. They cheer when you stand, but they vanish when you fall. That's the law of this twisted circus. So stop expecting crowds. Stop expecting support. Stop thinking somebody's going to clap for your quiet comeback. They won't, and that's your advantage. Let them think you're finished. Let them believe you're done. Then rise quietly like smoke from a burned-down city. Rise with no announcement, no warning, just results, just change, just that cold new version of you that doesn't explain, doesn't chase, doesn't care. You don't owe anyone the broken version of you they fell in love with. If you healed, they're going to hate you for it. If you stopped begging, they're going to call you heartless. If you started moving different, they're going to say you changed. And you know what? Good. Let them talk. Let them choke on the silence you leave behind. Your new language, disconnection. Your new reply, success. Your new attitude, watch me or don't. Either way, I'm moving. You don't need validation. You need victory. And that comes when you stop being soft with the people who spit on your softness. They mocked your seriousness, right? Said you were too deep, too emotional, too much. Let me tell you why. Because when you're serious, you start seeing through people, and they hate that. They hate mirrors. They want blind followers, not thinkers. Puppets, not problems. So when you start thinking for yourself, speaking truth, refusing to play dumb, you become a threat. You stop being nice and start being dangerous. That's why they distance themselves. That's why they label you. But let them. Labels don't stop killers. And you're not here to fit in. You're here to wake up, to rise up, to tear down every wall built from lies and fake smiles. You want to know why you keep getting walked on, why they don't take you seriously? Because you keep acting like you need them. You keep throwing loyalty at people who treat you like an option. You keep showing up for the same ones who wouldn't even blink if you disappeared. And deep down you know it. You feel it when you talk to them. That emptiness in their voice. You hear the boredom in their replies. You feel the shift in their tone. But you ignore it, right? You lie to yourself. You say, maybe I'm overthinking. No, you're not overthinking. You're finally seeing the truth, and it burns because you spent too long building a home in hearts that were never yours. You want to make them regret playing with you, then disappear without a sound. No explanations, no closure, no I'm leaving. Just leave. Become a ghost. Let the silence scream. Let the absence tear them up. Because people only start valuing what they lost when it's too late. They don't hear your pain when you speak it, but they feel it when you stop speaking altogether. When your presence goes cold. When your number turns silent. That's when the guilt creeps in. That's when the demons they fed you return to haunt them. You don't need revenge. You need detachment. Real detachment. Not that fake I'm over it you post online. I'm talking about stone-cold silence. The kind that makes them question if you ever existed. You don't fix betrayal with another chance. You fix it with distance. You fix it with silence. You fix it with success. But to do that, you've got to get serious. You've got to stop being that soft-hearted dreamer that thinks love fixes everything. Love doesn't fix nothing if the other side is playing games. Loyalty doesn't mean a thing to people who treat every connection like a transaction. You keep thinking if you give more, they'll love you more. No. If they don't respect what you gave already, they never will. That's the truth. And it's dark, but it's freedom. The moment you stop trying to earn love from the wrong hands, that's when you get your power back. You think this pain is permanent. It's not. It just feels like it because you keep touching the wound. You keep going back to the memories like an addict. You're hooked on the story, not the reality. You remember the smiles, not the silence, the laughs, not the looks they gave someone else. But the truth is, they chose not to care. They chose to play you. They knew you were serious, and they used it against you. That's the world we live in, where seriousness is mocked, loyalty is seen as weakness, and love is treated like a trick. But here's the secret. It isn't your job to change them. It's your job to change you, to become someone they can't access, someone they fear losing, not someone they use when they're bored. Get serious about your peace, about your goals, about your limits. Stop taking every apology. Stop letting people come back because they're sorry. Sorry isn't a currency. Sorry doesn't erase damage. Let them feel the weight of their actions. Let them carry the burden. You carried it long enough. You cried enough. You begged enough. It's over. This new version of you, it doesn't beg. It doesn't plead. It watches. It moves. It builds. It doesn't explain itself. And most importantly, it doesn't come back. You know what the saddest part is? It's not that they left. It's not that they betrayed you. No, it's that you saw the red flags and you stayed anyway. You saw them pull away and you held on tighter. You saw the shift in the tone, in the time, in the effort. But you chose to believe the mask instead of the behavior. And that's what breaks you most. Not what they did, but what you allowed. That's what eats you at night. The fact that you kept giving chances to people who already proved they didn't deserve them. The fact that you were willing to drown just to keep them afloat. That's the pain. But guess what? That pain, it's your fuel now. It's your reminder. That's the ghost that keeps you sharp. Keep it. Don't try to bury it. Let it haunt you. Let it push you. Because the version of you that let that slide, he's gone. They laughed at your pain. They rolled their eyes when you were honest. They mocked your discipline. And now, it's your turn. Not to laugh, not to gloat, but to rise quietly, seriously, without a word. You don't clap back with insults. You clap back with progress. You don't make noise. You make moves. Start with the little things, the stuff they said you'd never do. Wake up earlier, cut the distractions, hit the gym, stack your money, read, learn, hustle, work on your body like it's a weapon, work on your mind like it's a kingdom. Become so focused, so disciplined, so dangerous that their name doesn't even cross your mind anymore. Let me give it to you straight. You don't need closure. You don't need answers. You don't need that last conversation. You need to disappear. You need to fall in love with distance, with your silence, with your grind. Become allergic to anything that makes you feel small again. The old you, he needed company. The new you, he needs solitude. He thrives in it because there's power in being alone. Real power. Nobody to distract you, nobody to manipulate you, just you and the mirror. And when you finally start liking what you see in that mirror, not because of looks, but because of respect, that's when you know you're not to be messed with anymore. They think you're angry. Good. Let them. They think you changed. Even better. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Keep them out. Keep them confused. That's how you protect your peace. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them explanation. Your energy is expensive. Stop giving it to people who can't even afford respect. Start acting like your presence is a privilege. You walk in the room like you own the silence, like you dare them to underestimate you. And when they do, let your results punch them in the mouth. Not with pride, with precision. You aren't here to prove nothing to them. You're here to prove it to yourself. Every rep, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, it's not for validation, it's for vengeance, not the petty kind, the silent kind, the kind where your success becomes a memory that haunts them, the kind where they scroll through your life and realize they can't reach you anymore, not mentally, not physically, not spiritually. That's power. And it doesn't come from talking, it comes from getting serious. You know why discipline scares people? Because it's the one thing they can't fake. You can fake happiness, you can fake loyalty, you can even fake belief in yourself. But discipline, no. Discipline shows up when nobody's watching, when it's just you, your demons, and the decision to either keep going or give in. You think strength is loud? You think power comes from yelling in front of a crowd? No. Real power is built in silence. Real strength shows up when you get up at 5 in the morning with a body that wants to quit. When you say no to distractions that feel good but kill your future. When you sit alone on weekends, working on yourself while everybody else is out pretending they're happy. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what separates you from the herd. And let me tell you, the moment you lock in, the moment you go full ghost and build in silence, they'll feel it. Even if they don't see you, they'll feel you. You want to kill weakness? Starve it. Starve the version of you that needs attention, that craves validation, that waits for motivation. You think the world's going to clap for your transformation? They won't. They'll doubt you. They'll mock you. And when you finally make it, they'll act like they always believed in you. That's how the game works. So stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for someone to say, I'm proud of you. Start building without permission. Start working like nobody's coming to save you, because they're not. You're the savior. You're the storm. You're the revenge they never saw coming, but only if you get serious. Not halfway. Not, I'll start tomorrow. Now. This moment you flip the switch. You stop explaining. You stop negotiating. You become unreachable. Let's talk about pain. Not the kind they show in movies. The real kind. The kind that keeps you up at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how it all went wrong. The kind where you start blaming yourself for being too good, too loyal, too open. You question your worth. You start shrinking to fit in rooms that never deserved you in the first place. That pain, that's not your enemy. That's your origin story. That's the burn that forges monsters. You sit in it. You don't numb it. You don't run from it. You feel every inch of it until it teaches you the lesson you were too soft to learn before. And once you get it, once the lesson sinks in, you rise, not healed, not forgetting, just smarter, colder, and more focused. That's the power of pain, if you stop crying and start listening to it. They said you were too emotional. Good. That means you care. That means you feel deeper than they ever could. But now you use that emotion as fuel, not to cry, to create. You put it in your work, in your body, in your art, in your silence. You don't waste it on people anymore. They didn't know what to do with it when they had it. So now you give it to your mission, to your evolution. Every tear, every breakdown, every betrayal, it becomes bricks, and you build, alone, without a blueprint, without a cheerleader, without the lies. You build the version of you that doesn't flinch when it gets dark. Because now you are the dark. And the next time they see you, they won't recognize you. Betrayal doesn't start with a knife. It starts with comfort, with someone smiling in your face while quietly erasing your worth in their mind. It starts when they realize you'll always be there, no matter how little they show up for you. Betrayal isn't always loud. Most times it's a slow rot, a quiet exit, a changed tone, a missed call that never gets returned. You ever notice that? How they don't leave all at once. They just stop fighting for you. And the real kicker, you kept fighting for them, even when they stopped caring. That's the hell you've been dragging around. But not anymore. You're not the same fool. You've seen too much, felt too much, and now you walk different. You talk less. You smile less. You watch more. That's what pain taught you. How to read between the lies. How to stop being available for people who only love you when it's convenient. Let me tell you something about seriousness. When you truly get serious, I mean dead serious, you stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your choices to people who never earned a seat at your table. You stop entertaining drama. You stop responding to disrespect. Why? Because you realize how expensive your peace is, how sacred your focus is. You think kings argue with jesters. You think wolves bark back at sheep. No, they just walk through the fire with a straight back, eyes forward, heart frozen. That's where you're headed, to that level where your silence speaks louder than their noise, where your distance hurts more than your presence ever could. That's when they feel it, when they see you're not playing anymore. You ever watch a man rebuild himself in silence? That's a scary sight, because there's no weakness to exploit, no emotions to weaponize, just eyes that have seen too much and a soul that doesn't flinch anymore. That's you now. You aren't soft. You're focused. You aren't bitter. You're busy. You aren't heartless. You're healed. And that scares them, because they don't know how to control someone who isn't begging to be understood anymore. They don't know how to guilt trip a ghost. They don't know how to hurt someone who stopped needing their love, like it's oxygen. And when you get to that point, when you stop caring what they think, what they say, what they expect, that's when you're free. Free to rise, free to dominate, free to become the version of you they never thought you'd be strong enough to reach. You've got to learn how to be a mystery, how to disappear without leaving a trace, how to show up without explaining where you've been, how to be so focused on your next move that people start wondering if they ever really knew you. That's the goal, to become unreadable, untouchable, unshakable. They want you to break. They wait for it. Some even pray for it. But every time you stay silent, every time you level up without sending a warning shot, you teach them a lesson, that you don't fold, that you don't chase, that you don't need validation from people who couldn't even understand your value the first time around. You aren't here to be liked. You're here to be respected, and respect doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being necessary, from being a force, from walking in like you own the room, even if the room doesn't want you there. Weakness isn't about crying. It isn't about hurting. Hell, everyone hurts. Weakness is when you let pain turn you into a victim instead of a weapon. It's when you keep playing nice with people who've already shown you they aren't on your side. It's when you still answer messages from folks who went ghost when you needed them most. That's weakness. And you've been stuck in that loop too long, being too understanding, too patient, too forgiving. And what did it get you? Sleepless nights, an empty inbox, a heart that beats like it's trying to remember what peace feels like. But that's done now. That version of you, he's out of time. He's got to die for you to live. They used your softness against you, took your kindness like it was theirs to waste. You kept thinking, if I show them I care, they'll care too. No, you were just easier to use, and they used you over and over like you were nothing but a safety net, somebody they could come back to when life hit too hard. And you let them. You let them walk back in like they never left, like they never doubted you, like they never lied. And that's the part that burns. Not that they hurt you, but that you let it keep happening. But now you learn. Now you change. You let that fire eat the softness out of you until all that's left is stone. Because people don't respect comfort. They respect boundaries. They respect absence. They respect when the person they took for granted suddenly stops picking up the phone. Let's talk about loneliness. Everyone's afraid of it, like it's a curse. But you know what? I think loneliness is where monsters are built, where kings are made, where warriors are sharpened. Because when you got nothing but yourself, that's when you meet the real you. That's when you stop pretending. No distractions, no fake love, no masks, just the truth. And it's brutal, but it's clean. It doesn't lie to you. It shows you who you are without the noise. And once you've lived there, once you've sat in that silence long enough to make peace with the echo, nobody can break you because you've already survived the scariest thing out there, being alone with your own mind and coming out alive. You keep trying to fix bonds that already snapped, trying to rebuild bridges they already burned to keep warm. You ever stop and ask yourself why you're still reaching out, why you're still hoping they'll understand? Let it go. Let them go. You're trying to speak the language of loyalty to people who only understand convenience. They don't want depth. They don't want real. They want easy. And you're not easy anymore. You're heavy. You come with truth. You come with boundaries, with silence, with eyes that see through games. That's why they run. That's why they say you changed. Damn right you changed. You had to, because being soft in this world isn't noble. It's suicidal. You've got to walk like every step is a statement. Breathe like you don't owe nobody your air. Move like you aren't asking for permission. That seriousness, that's when they start whispering your name with fear instead of casual disrespect. That's when the people who used to laugh start watching you in silence, hoping you don't remember how they treated you. But you remember. Oh, you remember. You don't speak on it. You don't post about it. You just build. You build the kind of life that screams louder than revenge ever could. You turn your silence into a sword. You cut ties without looking back. And every success, every improvement, every elevation, it's a warning. Don't mess with me ever again. There comes a time, a brutal, quiet time, where you've got to bury the version of you that kept waiting for people to get it, the version that over-explained, over-apologized, overextended. That person dies in silence. No funeral, no tears, just a decision made in the dark, alone with nothing but your regret laying next to you like a loaded gun. That old version, he begged for peace in places that only knew war. He tried to build with people who only knew how to destroy. But now you walk different. Now every step says, I don't need you anymore. That's power, not arrogance, not pride, freedom. The kind that comes when you finally stop hoping they'll treat you better and start treating yourself like the prize you always were. You want to know what happens when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to prove your worth? You become dangerous, unreadable, unshakable. You walk into rooms with silence heavy on your back, and people feel it. They need you. You aren't there to perform. You aren't there to entertain. You're there to observe, to take notes, to measure, to decide who gets access and who doesn't. That's seriousness. That's what scares them. You ever notice how they try harder to break people who don't talk much? Because silence is unpredictable. Silence isn't soft. It's calculated. And the most dangerous man in the room, he isn't the loud one. He's the one sitting in the corner staring through everyone saying nothing. That's the energy now. That's what you need to become. People used to know you, or at least they thought they did. They had access. They had comfort. They had you wrapped around their fingers because you wore your loyalty like a badge. But now, that's over. You stripped that badge off and threw it in the fire. You stopped being loyal to people who were only loyal to their needs. You stopped showing up for people who vanished when it was your turn to need support. You stopped being the emotional dumping ground for cowards, dressed as friends. That shift, that's why they're mad. That's why they say you're distant. That's why they label you cold. Because you finally realized love without respect is manipulation. Loyalty without reciprocation is slavery. And you're nobody's slave. That they don't miss you. They miss control over you. They miss the version of you that didn't know better. The version that still hoped for closure, that still answered late-night calls, that still stayed after the disrespect. But this version of you, this version disappeared quietly, without drama, without a speech. Just gone. You became a ghost, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because once you realize who's rooting for you and who's just using you, the silence becomes the only answer you need. You don't confront, you don't argue, you exit. And the way you exit, it haunts them, it echoes. Because nothing screams louder than the absence of someone who gave everything and left without a goodbye. You want respect? Demand it with action, not words. You want peace? Cut off the noise without feeling guilty. You want revenge? Succeed so hard that even your silence makes them sweat. But to do that, you've got to become your own savior. You've got to stop praying for rescue and become the storm. Turn your pain into fuel. Turn your scars into armor. Turn your discipline into destruction. You don't need love from cowards. You don't need understanding from people who never tried to understand themselves. What you need is to take yourself so seriously that the world follows suit. Walk like you've got nothing to prove and everything to protect. And when they test you, don't talk, don't explain. Show them that this time they picked the wrong soul to play with. You ever think about what kind of legacy you're leaving? what they'll say when you're gone. Not when your heart stops beating, but when you stop picking up the phone, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop being that easy access point for everyone's comfort. Because that version of you, the one who bent over backwards for people who wouldn't even take a step toward you, he's gone. You buried him beneath every ignored message, every unanswered call, every fake smile you swallowed to keep the peace. And now, you become the memory they regret, the ghost they can't forget. Not because you were loud, but because your silence took everything they thought they had and turned it into dust. That's legacy, not fame, not applause, but impact. The kind that creeps in when your name is mentioned and the room gets quiet. The kind that makes them shift in their seat, questioning how they treated you. That's the power of taking yourself seriously. When your presence becomes sacred and your absence becomes unbearable. But here's the hard part. You don't get there by begging. You don't get there by explaining to the wrong people why you're valuable. You get there by disappearing, by building in silence, by sacrificing comfort to become unreachable. Because when you stop needing people, they start needing you. And that shift, that's when everything changes. You don't warn people when you level up. You don't announce your healing. You don't post your pain or scream your comeback. You vanish and you work. You grind like your demons are starving, like your failure is stalking you, like your old self is dragging your leg, trying to pull you back into the grave. And every day you win that fight. Every day you take another step forward in silence. That's another nail in the coffin of the weak, desperate version of you that used to settle for less. You're not that person anymore. You aren't someone's backup plan. You aren't someone's safe space to come cry after they wreck someone else's heart. You're the consequence now. The storm, the shadow they should have never played with. They're going to talk. Oh yeah, they'll talk. They'll twist your story. They'll lie. They'll downplay everything you've become. But it doesn't matter, because you're not playing in the same league anymore. Let them talk. That's all they can do now. You're too busy building an empire from the ruins they left you in. Too busy creating a version of yourself that doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't fold. And the more you grow in silence, the louder your absence hits. Every success, it's a bullet of truth. Every achievement, a slap to the face of everyone who doubted you. And you don't have to say a word. The life you build, the calm, the discipline, the detachment, that's your response. That's your revenge. See, they expected you to break. They counted on it. They thought if they ghosted you long enough, ignored you hard enough, disrespected you deep enough, you'd cave, you'd spiral. But instead, you rebuilt. You stopped explaining, you stopped reaching out, you stopped letting guilt and loneliness drive your decisions. And now look at you, not broken, bulletproof, not empty, focused, not angry, dangerous. And the best part, you did it alone. No cheers, no help, no validation, just you, your wounds, and the decision to never be anyone's doormat again. That's what scares them now. That quiet confidence, that stillness, that look in your eyes that says, I'm not to be messed with anymore.